Right now, at this very moment, there is someone, a woman who can't get you out of her mind. She tries to understand it, but the reasons escape her. She doesn't know why your face keeps appearing in her thoughts, why your name lingers, like a whisper in the quiet corners of her heart. But you know what? God knows. And that, my friend, is why you need to hear this message all the way through. You see, the human heart is a mystery even to ourselves. We think we control our thoughts and feelings, but often there are forces at work far beyond our understanding. Sometimes what stirs a person's mind is not logic, not memory, not even choice. It is a spiritual movement, a divine touch. And when someone can't explain why you're on her mind, it's because there's a greater reason than what the eye can see. Perhaps it is God's hand at work. He uses people, sometimes imperfect, sometimes forgotten, to carry out his purpose. You might have passed through her life like a passing breeze, or maybe you shared moments that changed her forever. Whatever the case, God is reminding her, stirring her soul through your presence in her thoughts. This is not coincidence. This is God's way of saying, I am not finished with this story yet. Sometimes the heart remembers what the mind tries to forget. There are unfinished things between you, words unsaid, forgiveness not given, love unacknowledged. And God, in his infinite mercy, does not want those things left broken. That is why you're still on her mind. It is a call to healing, a call to reconciliation, a call to something holy. You might wonder if this is about romance, but it runs much deeper. It is about the soul's awakening. Maybe you are her reminder to turn back to the faith she once had, the hope she once believed in. Maybe you are the vessel God is using to bring conviction or comfort. And perhaps in this stirring of hearts, God is preparing both of you for a new chapter, one written not by human hands but by divine will. Do not dismiss this stirring in your heart either. If she is on your mind, if your name echoes in her thoughts, take it seriously. There are no accidents in the kingdom of God. When God places someone on your mind, it is often a sign that he is working behind the scenes, drawing both of you closer to his purpose. You are not forgotten. You are not random. You are part of a bigger plan. So, what do you do with this knowledge? First, pray. Seek God's guidance about this connection. Pray for clarity, for peace, and for God's will to be done. Let your heart be open to his direction. Second, be patient. God's timing is perfect, and sometimes the waiting is the most important part of the journey. And finally, be ready. Ready to forgive, ready to heal, ready to embrace whatever God has for you both. Remember this. If she can't explain why you're on her mind, it's because the explanation is not human. It is divine. It is God's way of working through the mysteries of the heart to bring about healing, hope, and restoration. So don't run from this moment. Don't push away the thoughts that won't leave you. Instead, lean in. Listen closely to what God might be saying through the quiet stirring of her mind and your heart. You are on her mind because you are on God's heart, and that changes everything. The human heart is a place filled with mystery, a sacred and complex vessel where thoughts and emotions mingle in ways that often defy explanation. We like to think we understand ourselves, that our feelings come from clear reasons, our actions from conscious choices, but the truth is far more profound. There are times when the heart acts independently of logic or memory, and we find ourselves dwelling on someone, wondering why they have taken up residence in our minds without any clear cause. This isn't just happenstance or coincidence. It is something deeper, something that speaks to the unseen world where the spiritual and the emotional meet. In the stillness of a quiet moment, when the noise of daily life fades, you may suddenly realize that your thoughts have been occupied by a name, a face, a memory that you cannot place or fully understand. And in that realization, you sense a stirring, not just of sentiment, but of something spiritual moving beneath the surface. The heart is often the battlefield where invisible forces contend, where God's hand and the enemy's lies both seek to influence our lives. What the mind cannot explain, the spirit can begin to understand. When someone cannot explain why you're on their mind, It often means that a spiritual current is flowing between two souls, drawing them together for reasons beyond natural comprehension. This invisible pull can be a whisper from God, a gentle nudge meant to awaken a sleeping part of the soul, to remind a person of a truth forgotten or a path left untraveled. It is in these moments that the heart becomes a sacred space where divine appointments are made, where God's purpose quietly unfolds even if the people involved are unaware. Sometimes the heart remembers connections that the mind tries to dismiss, ties that remain unbroken despite time or distance. These emotional and spiritual bonds are part of the mystery of human relationships, a reminder that we are not isolated beings, but part of a larger, interconnected story. The reasons why someone appears in our thoughts unexpectedly may never be fully explained by human reasoning, because they come from a deeper place, a place where grace, forgiveness, hope, and redemption all intersect. It is here, in the unseen, that God works most powerfully. The mystery of the heart is a doorway to revelation, a place where the veil between the natural and supernatural grows thin. When you find yourself or someone else unable to explain why a certain person lingers in their mind, it is an invitation to look beyond surface explanations and to listen for the voice of God speaking through the quiet stirrings of the Spirit. This mystery calls us to humility, to faith, and to the understanding that not everything in life fits neatly into cause and effect. Instead, it reminds us that our lives are held in the hands of a sovereign God who moves in mysterious ways, often using the very thoughts and memories that confuse us to bring about healing, transformation, and new beginnings. The heart, in all its mystery, is not just a source of confusion but also a wellspring of hope, where God's love can take root and flourish in ways we could never have imagined. There are moments in life when the human mind struggles to make sense of what the heart is experiencing. You find yourself thinking about someone in ways that defy all reason. You ask yourself, why are you on her mind? Why does she keep coming back to my thoughts when nothing seems to explain it? The answer often lies beyond the realm of logic and understanding. This is where the Spirit moves, beyond the limits of our human reasoning. When someone is on another's mind without explanation, it is often the work of a spirit beyond logic, a spiritual prompting that reaches into the depths of the soul. We live in a world dominated by cause and effect, by tangible evidence and rational thought, but God's ways are not always so straightforward. He works in mysterious and wonderful ways, stirring hearts in quiet moments, planting thoughts that don't seem to belong to us, nudging us toward a destiny we may not yet see. This kind of prompting is not about human manipulation or coincidence. It is the whisper of the divine. It is God moving behind the scenes, drawing two lives into a connection for His greater purpose. When a woman finds you on her mind without explanation, it may be God's Spirit gently reminding her of something she has forgotten, perhaps a lesson, a blessing, or even a warning. It is as though the Spirit is breathing on embers that seemed cold, reigniting a flame that can bring warmth and light back into her life. This spiritual movement goes beyond the physical senses or the surface level of emotions. It is a sacred language spoken in the silence of the heart, understood only when we stop trying to control everything and begin to listen. We can try to dismiss these thoughts as mere nostalgia or chance, but the truth is that God often uses these moments to awaken us from spiritual sleep. He uses the presence of others, sometimes a person we never expected, to call us back to Himself, to heal wounds we didn't even realize were still open, or to prepare us for the future He has planned. This is why you might find yourself on someone's mind even when there seems to be no logical reason. It is not coincidence or random memory. It is the Spirit working quietly but powerfully. The Spirit does not rely on human understanding or explanation, because His ways are higher than ours. He speaks to the soul in ways that transcend time and space, reminding us that there is more to life than what we see or can explain. To recognize this movement of the Spirit requires humility and faith. It requires an openness to the possibility that God is at work, even when we cannot fully understand the why or how. It calls us to trust that there is a divine purpose behind the stirring of a name in our minds, a purpose that may only be revealed in time. So, when you find yourself or someone else caught in the mystery of unexplained thoughts and feelings, Remember that you are encountering a spirit beyond logic. It is a sacred invitation to lean into faith, to seek God's guidance, and to be ready for the ways He may choose to reveal His will through the very mystery that confounds the mind. This is the power of the Spirit, moving silently and surely in the hearts of men and women, guiding them toward a destiny that no human mind could ever fully grasp. There are connections between people that refuse to be severed, ties that linger long after words have been spoken or doors have been closed. Sometimes the reason you find yourself on someone's mind, though neither of you can fully explain why, is because there is unfinished business in the soul. It is as if two hearts are bound together by invisible threads, stretched tight by unresolved feelings, unanswered questions, or wounds left unhealed. This unfinished business does not always announce itself loudly. It often hides in the quiet, moments between thoughts, in the silence where memories rise unexpectedly. It can be a regret, a moment of forgiveness never given, or a dream never pursued. The soul remembers what the mind tries to forget, and it carries burdens that the heart cannot yet release. This is why she can't explain why you are on her mind, because beneath the surface lies a deeper story waiting to be told, a chapter left open in the book of life. It may be pain that was never fully understood, a betrayal that never found reconciliation, or simply the ache of a love that never had the chance to grow. Such unfinished business is often spiritual as much as it is emotional, a place where God's grace seeks to enter and bring healing. When two people are connected in this way, God uses their thoughts and memories to bring them back to the crossroads, where healing can begin. Sometimes the presence of someone in your mind is God's gentle invitation to face what has been left undone, to forgive, to seek forgiveness, or to make peace with the past. It is not easy, for the soul's unfinished business often carries pain and vulnerability, but it is necessary. God's healing cannot come until what is hidden is brought into the light, and so, He stirs memories and thoughts, even if confusing or unwelcome, because He longs for wholeness in the lives He touches. This is the mysterious way He draws us out of brokenness and toward restoration. You may wonder why these thoughts come at times when life seems full, when you have moved on or tried to forget. The answer is that the soul is not governed by time or circumstance. The Spirit within us knows when something is left undone, and God's timing for healing is perfect. He allows these moments to break through the noise of life so that the unfinished story can be rewritten in His grace. Sometimes, being on someone's mind is a sign that God is working on their heart and yours simultaneously. It is a divine call to return, to reconcile, and to trust that He will lead you both through the difficult path toward peace. This unfinished business of the soul is not a curse, but an opportunity. It is God's way of saying, I am not finished with you. Yet it reminds us that no matter how tangled the past may seem, no matter how much we wish we could leave certain memories behind, God's love is greater than all our mistakes and regrets. He uses even our brokenness to shape us and prepare us for the future He has planned. So when you or she cannot explain why your name lingers in the heart and mind, know this: it is the soul's unfinished business crying out for resolution. It is a call to trust God's timing, to seek His healing, and to believe that redemption is always possible, even in the places we least expect. In the quiet moments of life, when a name or a face suddenly appears in your thoughts without explanation, it may be more than mere coincidence, it may be a divine appointment. These appointments are moments carefully orchestrated by God, times when He brings two lives together for a purpose beyond what we can see or understand. When she can't explain why you're on her mind, it is often because God is at work behind the scenes, weaving a connection that has eternal significance. Divine appointments are not random. They are intentional meetings arranged by the hand of God. They may come in the form of a chance encounter, a memory that refuses to fade, or a persistent thought that won't leave the heart. God uses these moments to align His plans with our lives, drawing us closer to His purpose. Often these appointments are opportunities for healing, restoration, or revelation. They may bring answers to long-held questions or provide the courage to take the next step in faith. Sometimes God uses a person to remind another of their true worth, to awaken a dormant hope, or to challenge them to change. When you find yourself on someone's mind, especially when there seems to be no logical reason, it may be because God is orchestrating a meeting of souls. This meeting is a divine appointment meant to shift the course of both lives in ways neither person fully understands at the time. These moments require us to be attentive and open, to listen for God's voice in the silence, and to be willing to follow His leading even when the path is unclear. Divine appointments teach us that life is not just a series of random events, but a carefully crafted journey under God's guidance. They remind us that our relationships and connections carry spiritual weight and significance. When someone is on your mind, it may be an invitation to prepare your heart for what God wants to do next, whether that is forgiveness, reconciliation, or a new beginning. The beauty of divine appointments is that they often come when we least expect them, in the midst of ordinary days. God's timing is perfect, and He knows exactly when to bring the right people into our lives. These appointments are not always comfortable. Sometimes they challenge us, stretch us, or require us to confront difficult truths, but they always serve a higher purpose. They remind us that we are part of a larger story, a divine narrative that includes joy, sorrow, growth, and redemption. So when she can't explain why you're on her mind, remember that you may be part of a divine appointment, a sacred moment arranged by God to accomplish His will in your lives. It is a call to faith, to trust in God's plan, and to remain open to the ways He is working through the mysteries of the heart. Divine appointments are a beautiful reminder that no encounter is ever wasted, no thought is ever meaningless, and no connection is ever accidental in the hands of God. Sometimes the reason you find yourself on someone's mind, though she can't explain it, is because of the invisible power of influence. Every word spoken, every gesture made, every moment shared leaves a mark, sometimes deep, sometimes subtle, on the hearts of those around us. Influence is a force that reaches beyond the surface of daily interaction. It is the imprint we leave on another soul, often without even realizing it. You may have thought your presence in her life was small, insignificant, or even forgotten, but the truth is that your influence is real and lasting. It may be that a kind word you spoke long ago has taken root in her heart. It may be that an act of forgiveness or patience became a silent example that still echoes in her mind. The power of influence does not rely on grand gestures or perfect moments. Often it works quietly through the ordinary, through the everyday kindnesses and honesty we offer. When someone carries you in her thoughts without knowing why, it is because your influence has touched her spirit, creating a space where memories and feelings continue to grow. Influence is not something we control. It is a gift from God to use wisely. It shapes how people see themselves and the world, how they hope and dream, and even how they relate to God. Your influence may have been a seed planted long ago now, growing quietly beneath the surface, preparing for a season of change or healing. Sometimes God uses our influence as a way to prepare another person for a new chapter in their life. When you find yourself on someone's mind, it may be because God is using your influence to stir something in her heart, to awaken hope, to call to repentance, or to remind her of her true identity as a beloved child of God. This power of influence is not always visible, and it does not always bring immediate results, but it is real and significant. You cannot erase the impact you have had on someone else, for every interaction leaves behind a spiritual footprint. Recognizing this power calls us to live intentionally, knowing that our words and actions matter deeply. It reminds us that we are always influencing, whether we realize it or not. When she can't explain why you are on her mind, it is because your influence lingers in ways unseen but deeply felt. It is a silent testimony to the ways God works through relationships to bring about transformation. Influence is the unseen thread woven through the fabric of human connection, binding lives together and shaping destinies. This power is a sacred trust, a reminder that what we do today may echo in someone else's heart tomorrow. So, even when you feel unnoticed or forgotten, remember that your influence is at work, quietly but powerfully, in the lives of those you have touched. When someone finds you on their mind and can't explain why, it is often more than just a fleeting thought. It is a call to action. This stirring in the heart is God's way of prompting both of you toward something that needs attention, something that requires courage and faith. Life is filled with moments when the Spirit nudges us, not just to think or feel, but to act. This inner movement is not meant to be ignored or dismissed. It is a divine invitation to step into the purpose God has for you. Often the call to action begins with prayer, an honest, heartfelt seeking of God's guidance to understand what this connection means and where it is leading. It asks you to be willing to listen closely to what God might reveal, and to be brave enough to respond. The call may require forgiveness, a reaching out to heal a broken relationship, or the courage to express feelings that have been held silent. It may be the beginning of reconciliation after long separation, or the start of a journey toward mutual healing and restoration. This call to action challenges us to overcome fear and uncertainty, to step beyond our comfort zones and trust God's timing and wisdom. It reminds us that faith without works is incomplete, that God's promises often require human response and participation. When you find yourself on someone's mind and they can't explain why, it is because God is inviting both of you to move forward, to act on the stirring within your hearts. Ignoring this call risks missing the opportunity God has placed before you. The call to action is a sacred responsibility and a privilege. It means that God is at work in your lives, that He believes in the potential for change, healing, and new beginnings. It asks you to be part of His redemptive plan, to allow your story and hers to intersect for His glory. Sometimes the first step is small, an honest conversation, a simple message, a prayer for wisdom. But these small acts of obedience can open the door to greater things. The call to action is never easy, but it is always worth it. It brings life where there was brokenness, hope where there was despair, and light where there was darkness. It teaches us that God's work in the heart is a partnership. He moves, but we must also respond. So when you sense that you are on someone's mind, even if she can't explain why, listen carefully. Ask God what He wants you to do. Be ready to step out in faith, knowing that your willingness to act can unlock the blessing God has prepared. The call to action is a reminder that God's love is active and living, always reaching out, always inviting, always ready to heal and restore if we say yes. In the mystery of why someone can't explain why you're on her mind, we uncover a profound truth: that life is woven with unseen threads, divine purposes, and spiritual stirrings beyond human understanding. Whether it is the mystery of the heart, a spirit beyond logic, unfinished business of the soul, divine appointments, the power of influence, or a call to action, each moment is a reminder that God is actively working in our lives. He uses these thoughts, these unexplained stirrings, to draw us closer to healing, hope, and a destiny far greater than we imagine. So when you find yourself or someone else unable to explain why your name lingers in the heart and mind, do not ignore it or push it away. Embrace it with faith and humility. Listen carefully to what God may be saying through this divine whisper. Pray, seek guidance, and be ready to respond to His call. For in these moments lies the potential for restoration, for new beginnings, and for the fulfillment of God's perfect plan. Remember, you are not on her mind by accident. You are part of a bigger story, a story written by the hand of a loving God who never forgets, never gives up, and always desires to bring His children into the fullness of His grace and peace. May you walk forward with courage, trusting that the God who places you in someone's thoughts is the same God who guides your steps and holds your future. Amen.